welcome back once again. It's Mike. This is my shop. It is a bit cold in here today, so yeah, it's not terribly comfortable. I'm not actually going to build anything today. Since this video is actually being made the day after Christmas, I'm actually going to talk about some things that I actually got for Christmas this year, because they were amazing. And most of them actually came from my wife, but one of them came from a fellow RPF user. And it was a tremendous surprise and a huge shock. And I'll get into that here in a second. And I know in the last video I talked about finishing up a model that I'd been trying to restore, a 20 mule borax team from the 1950s. And it has been the biggest pain I have ever been involved with as far as the restoration or the building of a model kit, simply because so many parts were missing from it when I got it out of my dad's things, and just having to find more copies of the kit to cannibalize for parts. So instead, I'm going to go over some of the things that I've done to it so far, and also how I've built its base and done the diorama work for it. So I'm going to actually talk about some of the products that I found to make really convincing sand in a model, and how I went about doing this and sort of duplicating a photograph that I found. And then also going over some of this amazing stuff that I end up getting for the holidays. So since this will be my, this will be my last video for the year, and the next video will be at the beginning of the year, will actually involve the beginning of a very large, very involved cosplay project that I've been working on. Let's get right into it, to the very first thing that I actually opened, which was from my wife, and it's the art of the Expanse. The art and making of the Expanse, actually. If you are unfamiliar with the show The Expanse, it is a science fiction television show that is now in its 4th season. The 4th season recently came out on Amazon. It started on Sci-Fi for the first 3 seasons, and then it was canceled. And then it was brought back by Amazon, and the 4th season just aired, and they're actually in the process of filming the 5th season. And if you are a fan of Tested or a fan of sci-fi in general, you have probably found videos of Adam Savage talking to the crew and the cast and the prop department of The Expanse. And I am in the process of building quite a few props from The Expanse. I'm actually also getting ready to begin a build, and it's a real parts build, of one of the vac suits that's worn by the characters that are called the Belters. And it's sort of a mishmash of a couple different suits and a bit of a creation of my own character in a way, to sort of get around the details of it. I'm not trying to portray one specific character from the show, but a sort of a general Belter. Using all of the original parts. Of course, what has to be custom made will be custom made, because the suits that they wear are actually completely bespoke. So you can't just go buy one off the shelf. It's not made from real parts. It's actually custom by their wardrobe department. But yeah, the art and making of the Expanse. This is an absolutely beautiful coffee table-esque size book that is, I mean, the first couple pages are a scale of the different ships, and the Rocinante, the main character, if you will, of the show, the Rocinante, formerly the Tachi, that's it there, and that's the Nauvoo, or the Behemoth, or whatever the station is called in the 4th season. I don't really want to say it because I don't want to give away too much about it. But this book is replete with fantastic artwork and photographs from production. This is actually one of my favorite pictures in here, because it shows extremely clearly the vac suit details and this safety harness, those details specifically, which, if you're trying to replicate the costumes from this show, you absolutely need this book, because this just has wonderful images and close-ups of all the main characters, including the best dressed character in the entire show, Christian Eversarala, and then goes through just the making of, and then all of the different ships, the Martian armor, the different concepts for the Martian armor, and so on. I don't want to show the whole book, but if you want to get a copy of this book, and it goes through a lot of the making of it, if you want to get a copy of this book, just check the link below. It'll take you straight to the Amazon link, where you can actually get it slightly cheaper than you can retail. Yeah, this book was fantastic. But yeah, if you are a fan of The Expanse or a fan of sci-fi, pick this guy up. It is The Art and Making of the Expanse by Titan Books. Now, I use a lot of Tamiya weathering powder and the Tamiya Weathering Master series. And I really only ever show 2 of them because I've only ever bought 2 of them. But there are actually 6, numbers A through F. Now, I've not used half of these before. This one, sand, light sand and mud, and then orange rust, gunmetal, and silver. This A and C. Those are the ones that you always see me using. But the rest of these I've never actually had the chance to use because these can tend to be somewhat hard to find. Burnt blue, burnt red, oil stain, snow, soot, rust, yellow, gray, green, titanium, light gunmetal, and copper are the other 4, D, B, E, and F. My wife got these for me. She found them on Amazon. I'm actually going to link those below as well. If you are interested in using weathering powders or weathering pastels, essentially, get these because I use them constantly, and having all of these different ones available to me will give me so many more options now in the future. And here in a minute, I'm going to actually show you how I used these, or some of these rather, on the model of the 20 Mule team, which we'll get to here in a second. And then couple of different products by Vallejo that I started playing with. This one, Model Wash, which is, if I get it to focus here, this is Desert Dust, which I've been using pretty heavily on the desert diorama that I've been doing here that I'll show you here shortly. Focus, good Lord. It says for light and dark armor, but it turns out it's also good for making a reasonable facsimile of Death Valley. And then the Metal Colors series by Vallejo, which I used to paint up this, and that is a 3D print, believe it or not, as smooth as it is. That is a 3D print of a 3D model that was created from the concept art of Ralph McQuarrie, the guy that created pretty much all the concept art for Star Wars. And it was created by another RPF user, and I went ahead and printed it out because I really wanted one. And then I sent one to another guy as a Christmas present because it was fun. As far as the main product that I used for what I'm about to show you, I used this, and I had never heard of it until I found it during a random search of Vallejo's website. Once again, I am not actually sponsored by Vallejo, though most of the products I'm showing you are from Vallejo. I just use their stuff a lot because I really like it. This stuff is great for replicating sand. And it's this goopy, pasty, it's essentially paint mixed with sand, and you can see how gritty that is. But when you spread it over a surface, and once it dries, it has this beautiful sand-like texture, and which is precisely what you want, and it gets on everything, as it turns out. But let me show you how those products came together into a, so far, really nice facsimile of a desert floor, particularly one from Death Valley. Now, while not the most stable video here, this is to give you an idea of the ridiculous length of this old model kit. That is the Borax Chemical Company 20 Mule Team model from this one, I believe, is at least from the late 50s, early 60s, perhaps. Because I know my dad got it when he was a kid. Now, this thing has sat sort of untouched and broken in my dad's house for a long time. And I've been in the process of restoring it, but unfortunately over time models lose parts. And this one lost a lot of parts. Like most of the rigging that actually holds these mules together, which looks like that, is gone. So I've had to buy, at this point I've bought 3 copies of this kit to find all the parts that I've needed to repair everything. And so far, I think I have all the parts I need. Now, when he built this, he actually filled it. One of the guys fell in there, but he actually filled it with borax, which I will go ahead and duplicate as well. But I've begun the process of repainting and restoring these wagons, which they were in terrible shape when I got them. And that's actually my dad's paintwork there, which I don't think you can see it terribly well. But going back to what I was talking about with the Vallejo diorama effects, this business right here, the floor of this, the base of this, and now this diorama base is not finished yet, but that is the gritty effect that you get with it. And it's wonderful. It absolutely beautifully duplicates sand, And now I've gone over this with some other weathering powder, specifically here at the front where I started. And those rocks are actually just made of plastilina. But it works out great. And what I did was lay down a layer of essentially Bondo, which I got for really cheap, which is why I was able to use it. And I used some of the extra mules and wagon wheels I had from the other kits that I found. And I used them to make ruts and tracks, and you can kind of tell that the entire base of this is actually filled or covered in hoof prints, which I went ahead and duplicated because I based it off this photograph, which is one of the few photographs of these things actually in service in Death Valley. And one of these days I'll get this thing done. But I did all this with goodness me, Vallejo Earth Texture acrylic. And this is their Diorama Effects series. Weathering powder and the Desert Dust Model Wash by Vallejo. And again, I'm not sponsored by Vallejo. I don't know that they sponsor anybody. But the base of it is Bondo with a layer of this washed over with this and then gone over with weathering powder and then some model texture grass and static grass to give it that desert feel, because deserts are not necessarily dead. They just have very little life in them, much like Death Valley does. But that's it. That's the 20 Mule team as it stands right now. One of these days I'll get it done, or I won't. I don't know. Now, as for the last gift that I talked about that I received this year for Christmas, it was actually from a fellow RPF user, the rpf.com, the Replica Prop Forum. And I got a couple of other beautiful things from him. But the one that stood out the most was this, a copy of Adam Savage's Every Tool's a Hammer. Now, the book is amazing. I already owned a copy of it, and I had read it through a couple of times at this stage. And it's just an absolutely wonderful book. If you don't have it, buy it, because it is just worth a read, even if you're not really a maker. But when I opened it, that was where the surprise was. That's from Adam to me. The fellow that was my Secret Santa gifter from the RPF was actually working with Adam at the time. And I don't want to say the RPF user's name, because I don't know if he wants his name out there. But he was working with Adam at the time and actually got Adam to sign this for me. Now, I have met Adam before. And Adam is as nice in person as you expect him to be from his persona on television. So it was quite a surprise to get this. So I'm gonna, if you're unfamiliar with Tested.com or Tested's YouTube channel, I'm gonna link it below. Watch all their videos; they're fantastic. It's a huge inspiration for me. Adam is, and to get this from him for Christmas is fantastic. So thank you, Adam, for signing this, and I promise I will. And there it is. That was my Christmas this year. Some of the highlights for me this year. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Consider patron if you can to help support my channel. Check out social media links below. And for any of this stuff that you see before you and any of the other stuff that I've ever used in my videos, except these, you're not going to find these on Amazon. Not yet anyway, maybe. Check the links in the description below. Eventually I'll make a bunch of these and probably just give them away on the channel. And yeah, thanks for watching. And also a special thanks to the RPF user, you know who you are, who got this for me, and all the other fantastic gifts that you got for me. And I really do appreciate it. And I wish everyone a happy holidays, a happy new year, and may next year be even better than this one for you. Thank you again for watching. Cheers.